of course, for central and southern China. It's the seasonal stuff, and that is the seasonal band. It's very easy to see at the moment. It's spreading through South Korea and into the major islands of Japan. Tokyo may not got the brunt of it. It's more on the northern side of Honshu, a little orange bits further west. And as this has moved north in the last few days, it's allowed a little tropical depression here forecast to come on shore somewhere west of Hong Kong, Macau, that sort of area. It's not going to be a windy affair, but it will be a fairly wet affair. That's I think the exaggerated rain in this part of China. So if you look at the forecast specifically for Wuhan, heavy rain on Monday and then becomes lighter on Tuesday and Wednesday, but it's rain all the same. That's where most of the energy is, this sort of line of latitude, which means this cloud coming in here to southern Vietnam and Cambodia, maybe Thailand, will bring some particularly heavy rain again with it. It's caused flooding recently, so there's more to come. That doesn't mean there are no showers further south. There are plenty in Borneo, in Sulawesi, Peninsular Malaysia, more than you might expect in Peninsular Malaysia at the moment. The monsoon trough is making very good progress. Rain right up through Maharashtra, probably causing floods in the next 2 days.
White supremacy is on the rise in the US.
It's an undercurrent that is bubbling up.
Trump has mainstreamed extreme ideas.
This is the first step toward taking America back.
Fault Lines examines the doctrines feeding hatred and their all too often deadly consequences.
What are you telling your congregations about safety?
We have to be concerned.
Conspiracy to Massacre, Anti-Semitism in America, on Al Jazeera.
Welcome back. You're watching Al Jazeera with me, Sahil Rahman. A reminder of our top stories. A lockdown has been reimposed in parts of China's capital after 45 people at a wholesale market tested positive for the coronavirus. What's being called a wartime emergency in Beijing has forced schools to delay reopening following 2 months of no infections. Mexico has reported its highest daily number of coronavirus infections since the start of the pandemic. More than 5,200 new cases raises the total to nearly 140,000. At least 16,000 have died after contracting COVID-19. And a curfew has come into effect in London following rival demonstrations by anti-racism protesters and far-right groups. There was a tense standoff earlier as far-right protesters fought with police near the Houses of Parliament. Head to Asia now, where Nepal's parliament has approved changes to the country's map, further straining ties with neighbouring India. Now, the revised map seeks to include 400 square kilometres of disputed territory, seen here in yellow. The area has been under Indian control for about 60 years. Well, the latest spat was triggered after India opened a new road to China through a strategic Himalayan pass and territory that Nepal claims as its own. The bill now goes to Nepal's upper house for approval. Shruti Kapila is a lecturer in the Faculty of Modern Indian History at the University of Cambridge in England. She says India won't respond well to the new map.
I think what has changed in recent years is that Nepal used to be a kind of historic kind of buffer between the two, as it were, great so-called civilizational nations like China and India. And that way of looking into Nepal has ended with, as it were, Chinese expansionism. And as a result, this is exactly why the Nepali the government is now seeking, as it were, attention from India to resolve this matter. And it always uses, the spectre of the Chinese card is always used. And I think the Indians are not biting. That's where we are. I mean, the Indians are saying, no, we are going to go ahead with this road. Okay, you have a problem with the way we've done this, but this is not new. Because I think India's attentions are focused on, as I said, the story on Ladakh and the Chinese incursion there. So in a way, this is a game of attraction and distraction which is now triangulated between China, India, and Nepal. So I think India feels that, yes, it can kind of ignore, for the moment, it can ignore this complaint by Nepal. But having said that, it is also a step change in a historic old relationship or of a special relationship between Nepal and India, because in a way, India has kind of downgraded Nepal, and the government there is saying, no, we exist, we matter, because we can negotiate for you with China. And I think the Indians are saying, no, not really. So I think that's really what this brinksmanship is about. It's about Nepal seeking attention from India, and India saying, well, we've got other and bigger fish to fry.
Saudi forces in Yemen say they've shot down a ballistic missile fired by Houthi rebels over the border. State media says some people were slightly injured by fragments as the missile targeted the Saudi border city of Najran. And protesters have rallied for a second night in Lebanon over the government's handling of a deepening economic crisis. Hundreds voiced anger at the spiralling cost of living, despite a government promise to bolster the local currency. Victoria Gatenby has the story.
Protesters have no confidence the Lebanese government can stop the worsening economic crisis. That anger and frustration is fueling violent protests as people lose hope. In Beirut, demonstrators threw fireworks and rocks at riot police. They were met with a volley of tear gas. Shops in the capital were attacked. And in the northern city of Tripoli, protesters hurled petrol bombs at soldiers.
They should all resign, so we can live and so those young, unemployed men can live, instead of becoming robbers and thieves.
Since October, the local currency has lost 70% of its value, although banks are still maintaining the official price pegged at 1,500 lira to the dollar. Black market prices have